Hey, those of you that have bought land before or bought a house, you know there are a lot of real estate terms that are confusing to people. I want to give you some very specific terms right now that are related just to rural real estate and can be really helpful to you. First one is a gar hole. Now, you may have heard that phrase before if you've ever been hunting or fishing with some friends and they put you in a bad spot or they put you in a place you just could not catch any fish. And sometimes we use the phrase gar hole to refer to places that just have no wildlife, there's no fish, it's almost like there's no life at all there. A lot of times a gar hole is a place in real estate that's just kind of just nasty or run down. A lot of times it's swampy ground, wet ground, just, well, a gar hole. It's no better way to explain it. It's just the kind of place you really don't want to be. It's ugly, it smells, it's wet and nasty. You get your truck and your four-wheeler stuck all the time. No deer, there's no other wildlife, there's no fish. But a gar hole does have use. You've heard of commercial land use, you've heard of industrial land use, you've heard of residential land use. Well, a gar hole is holding the world together. That's another phrase you should know. A gar hole is a piece of ground between two good pieces of ground, and it's holding it together. Without the gar hole, the world just fall apart. Even a gar hole has its use and has its value. Another phrase I want you to know about is a goat ranch. Now, a goat ranch is real similar to a gar hole, except it's different topography. A gar hole is usually low, swampy, wet ground, but a goat ranch is usually higher ground. It's dry ground usually, and in fact, it's so high and dry sometimes it's almost barren. I mean, it's the kind of place that really, nothing can really thrive there other than freaking goats. I mean, it's just a goat ranch. It's ugly. It's the kind of place you don't want to be, but it's not a gar hole. It's high ground. It's a goat ranch. Another phrase you need to know about when you're thinking about land and dealing with rural properties is BFE. Now, BFE has to do with location. My wife will call me sometimes and say, hey, where are you going? Or hey, where are you at? And I'll go, well, I'm headed to BFE. Well, when she hears that, she knows not to ask any more questions about where I am, what time I'll be back, what I'm doing, because she knows when I'm going to BFE or if I'm in BFE, that I'm just out in the middle of nowhere. BFE is short for Bumfizzle Egypt. When I go to Bumfizzle Egypt, or when you go to Bumfizzle Egypt to look at a piece of land, that means you're just gone. You're just out where nobody's ever been. You're out where nobody's ever gonna find you. It's taking you forever to get there. It's not easy to get there. It's just out in BFE. Now, you know you're in BFE when you hear phrases like, it's the kind of place you just can't get there from here. How do you get to that spot? Well, I really don't know how to tell you. I mean, you just gotta figure out how to get there. It's in BFE. Or BFE is the kind of place that's really not at the end of the world, but you can see it from there. I mean, it's just that far out. So when you go look at property in BFE, make sure you take a sandwich. Make sure you got some survival gear in case you gotta spend the night or something, because nobody's gonna find you out there. When you hear these phrases, your antennas ought to go up and you need to be real careful and real wary about what you're dealing with and where it is. This playlist right here is full of videos about tips for investing in land. Why don't you check them out?